Today on Wedding Worthy, we are getting an inside look into garden-inspired weddings, where lush florals and romantic scenes take center stage. First, we'll head to Toronto for a dreamy European garden party-themed celebration, complete with elegant blooms and a show-stopping gown. Then, we're off to St. Louis for a country club wedding that feels like stepping into a glass greenhouse filled with greenery and charm. Finally, we'll visit a picturesque Ohio winery where a Bridgerton-inspired affair unfolds with breathtaking floral arrangements and timeless romance. Enjoy! Watching Wedding Worthy, where we believe every couple has a story. Today on Wedding Worthy, we're celebrating the love story of interior designer and YouTuber Kristen McGowan and her husband, actor and content creator Christian Del Grosso. From high school sweethearts to social media powerhouses, their journey is one of true soulmates, navigating long distance, chasing dreams, and building a life together with unwavering support. Their wedding was nothing short of spectacular, designed as an immersive experience in 5 unforgettable parts. Guests set sail on a chic welcome cruise around the Toronto Islands, witnessed an intimate ceremony on the lawn, a lively cocktail hour by the fountain, dined under candlelight on the terrace, and danced the night away in a high-energy late-night celebration. Enjoy! You're watching Wedding Worthy, where we believe every couple has a story.
Hi, my name's Christian Del Grosso.
And I'm Kristen McGowan, and we got married on June 30th, 2024. We probably met for the first time in the hallway of our high school back in Toronto. Do you even remember the exact day?
No, it's not the exact day. We had a lot of mutual friends, so
yeah.
we were naturally in like the friend group, would come into contact with each other in passing a lot, but we never became friends until, because Kristen's a year younger than me, I'm a year older, so our friend groups kind of slowly started to merge and like hang out, and that's where we
became friends first.
Started to become friends, yeah.
Yeah, we started hanging out as friends for about a year, and then after that, it was like, wow, we're hanging out a lot. He sure is nice to me.
And I kissed her one time.
And then it turned into a full-blown relationship.
Yep.
He always stood out as the funniest guy, so he was a lot of fun to be around.
We had many unofficial first dates.
You asked me to go to dinner. We were probably 16 and 17. And I got all dressed up, and we went to this Greek restaurant. And it felt very official. You drove me in your car.
Was it Mr. Greek?
It was Mr. Greek.
Okay, yes, I remember.
I remember what I wore. I remember I remember that felt like this must be our real first date.
We didn't classify it as a date though. It was kind of one of those like, do you want to go get food?
Yeah, but it just felt
and then
like,
it was a date.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of our like, we would go and park in front of Blockbuster.
Yeah, get Tim Hortons, and we would drink coffee and tea and just chat for hours. And yeah, he had a car, so he always used to pick me up to go to school. And I lived 3 doors down from our high school, and he insisted to drive me to school every day. So yeah, the car kind of became this thing that we would go around town and just hang out together. We were kind of that relationship that took every day at a time. We never planned into the future too far, and I feel like that helped take away a lot of pressure that people may face that are in long-term relationships or dating since high school, because we would just go day to day and we wouldn't put these expectations out there, and then it turned into a very easygoing relationship that evolved over time, from dating in high school to long distance to then planning our wedding. Yeah.
But I think we knew just early on our chemistry was so good.
Yeah.
So like even when I was friend zoned for a year, in that time we really bonded well, and like we realized in that time as friends, like, wow, we actually have like deeper chemistry than just like a friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I first moved away to college, and that was just about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So
she initiated the long distance.
I initiated it, yeah. And so we were still in the same country, but we were in different towns now, and that kind of added a different dynamic. But he would come to visit me in college on weekends, and we would see each other then. We would talk on the phone all the time. I remember we used to use Skype a lot.
Yeah.
Remember, we have some Skype calls? Yeah, so that was like new and exciting. It wasn't so much of a change.
Yeah, that wasn't so much of a change. And that was doable. I could drive. Yeah, I was able to drive. I'd drive and go see Kristen, and then I was taking acting classes at that time, so I would drive to see her and then sometimes stay over, and then because she was so close to my acting class, I would, instead of go all the way back home, I would just stay with Kristen that weekend and then go to acting class the next day.
And then after that, when he decided he wanted to get into acting and moved to California, and he was really getting big in the social media scene, he moved straight to Los Angeles. He did think about maybe moving to the city and just getting out of his childhood home, really, just to like explore, but it went right to moving out of the country.
I think we handled well because we had already built such a foundation prior to doing anything long distance.
Yeah.
And I think that
it kind
that
of
helped a lot.
Slowly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
you were also visiting a lot too.
Yeah, I would visit any chance I got during college, and we would call each other on the phone. But yeah, I feel like we saw each other a lot. Maybe the longest spurt was 3 months, and that felt like a long time.
Yeah.
You know, there's something exciting about long distance, and then there's something really sad about it. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but it did allow us a chance for him to individually grow and pursue his career, me individually grow, and then together we came together, and I just felt like it worked.
Yeah. It was a long time coming, so it needed to happen immediately. It was, what were we at the time, like 12? Had been together for 12 years.
Yeah, I think so.
So I was like, okay, we can't wait any longer. And we've always been like, even when we were in high school, I'd always tell Kristen, like, I would ask her if she would marry me, and she'd say, stop asking me.
I would say, stop, because you're going to ruin it for the time that you actually mean it. Like when we can actually get married. We couldn't get married at 16.
No, we could have.
Yeah.
It would have been hard.
But we did talk about, like, okay, it should happen soon.
So our parents were in town. And I kind of planned it. I planned the engagement around us being able to get engaged and have our families in town, because Kristen's parents and my parents both mean so much to us, and our parents have such a good relationship too. So it was just really fun to be able to do that with everybody together. But I was like, I need to do something special. Our parents are going to be in town, so I can't like take everybody on like an extravagant trip to like do a proposal. So I was like, maybe there's a way that we can spend this week together, all of us together. We like to go do things, us as a family, like my parents and Kristen's parents. Mm-hmm. So we were going out a lot and doing things, and I asked a few of my like really good friends, I was like, look, I have the ring, I have everything ready. Is there any way that you guys could decorate our house or even the backyard? Because we had this little, we lived in Westlake Village in LA, and we lived on the lake, and we had this little nook in the backyard that was like perfect to be able to walk Kristen down and propose to her. So I said, if there's any way you guys could just do something special at the backyard, like I'll give you whatever budget you need, but like I would love to be able to bring Kristen back home with our parents and propose to her that night. And they ended up pulling through, and they made like such a beautiful like proposal set up in the backyard, and had candles and everything. And yeah, when we got home, I like walked Kristen into the backyard, because when we first got home, there was a fence that we have up that blocks you from seeing the backyard, but she could like see candles lit in the backyard, and she was like, wait, she was like, there's something on fire. So I walked her to the backyard, and I'm like, no, nothing's on fire. And I was just guiding her into the backyard to where...
Yeah, when you were so calm about the fire, I thought, why is he being so calm about
there's
this
a fire?
There's a fire back there.
But yeah, ended up walking her back there, and then proposed to her in the backyard.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah. And it was a beautiful night, too.
A complete surprise.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that it was coming in the near future, but when our parents were there together for the full week, I did think about it, but the whole week went by, and nothing happened. So I thought, well, that's that. We had one more day together, and he really used that last night together to do that, and I was completely shocked, because he had friends come and do it all he was with me the whole time, not acting weird or like nervous. So I would have no idea. I had no idea that anything was happening. That was such a good idea.
Don't forget I'm an actor.
I love that it happened at the house too, because we really loved
I pulled it off.
that house.
I was able to trick her.
Yeah,
She
I don't
had
know
no
how
idea.
you did that.
Oscar award winning performance.
Yeah. And I remember you came down wearing like a nice outfit that day, and we were doing a very casual activity with our family. And I remember thinking, wow, you look really nice. And I don't know if I really love my outfit type of thing. And then we go out and you were all prepared. And
you see all the memes where, you know, the ladies are like, I'm getting proposed on the day where my nails aren't done.
That was
so
me.
I did not plan, and that's my bad. I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
I didn't plan ahead for you to be able to get, because you couldn't know.
No, it made me completely
You couldn't know, yeah.
shocked. Like, I always thought, I'm going to know when he proposes because I just know what's happening. He's always with me. He's going to act nervous. Like, he's going to say something that he doesn't normally say. And then that never happened, so I was completely caught off guard. It was so exciting. It's exactly how I imagined it, because I really wanted to be surprised after so many years. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I do interior design content creation online. So I run a YouTube channel called Kristen McGowan, and on there I do room makeovers and design tips, interior design ideas, trends. I pretty much cover it all when it comes to home, and I've been doing that full time for 8 years. Christian actually inspired me to start a YouTube channel because he started online first, and I think it's the best decision I've ever made. My parents allowed me a lot of creativity growing up. I remember them allowing me to choose my paint colors in my room and just decide what I want that to look like. And that's where I think my love for interior design really started. And I really thank my parents for allowing that, because I think it sparked a lot of imagination in me. And I grew up in the same house. I never moved at all in my life. So my childhood home, I watched it evolve over time. I remember being part of design decisions, and yeah, my parents just really included me in that. My dad was really into architecture. They traveled with us a lot around the world, so I feel like I learned a lot about design and architecture that way. And even if I didn't realize it was inspiring me as a kid, it really did. So yeah, I'm really thankful for my family. Introducing Christian to my family was kind of a natural integration. I would say my sister knew who he was because she was in the high school with us. So that was easy. And we would all hang out. And then, you know, my mom and dad, I introduced him as my friend at first because he was my friend, and he would always come and pick me up, and we'd go out together and we'd hang out as a group at our house and other friends' houses. So he was just always around, so that honestly it was my mom that was really in my ear saying, I think he really likes you. And yeah, she noticed right away. So it's funny when you hear the story from my dad, he knew right away. He's like, what do you mean this is just your friend? But yeah, it never felt like anything dramatic to announce this is my boyfriend. It was like, he was just a part of it all, you know?
We're both from Toronto, Canada, and I didn't go to post-secondary. I didn't go to a college university. I came out of high school and kind of started working right away, and then really wanted to be in the entertainment industry. So I started training as an actor in Toronto, Canada. And then it was a few years into that where I discovered Vine at the time, and then started creating content on Vine. And yeah, the bulk of my career and success has come from social media and Vine, and then transitioned to Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, Snapchat, all the other platforms. But I primarily started in like comedic sketches on social, and then expanded into more like short form and then now long form content. I grew up in Richmond Hill, Ontario, in Toronto, Canada, and very much similar to Kristen, like had a very supportive family. I have a younger brother who's also in the arts. He's a musician, and yeah, they allowed me to be whatever I wanted to be at the time. And I really did pull a High School Musical in real life. That was a thing. I was a hockey player and played pretty competitively in hockey, and then, you know, had that day when I told my dad, like, I don't want to do this, Dad. I want to be an actor. And that was my coming of age story. But yeah, that's pretty much, yeah, that's what I do.
Your family's also hilarious as well, so it runs in the family for sure. Like, your grandparents, your uncles, your dad, like, all the guys are so funny. So I feel like you doing what you do now just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's been fun. My parents adore Kristen. Like, Kristen's like the daughter that my dad never had. They, like, from the very beginning when I brought Kristen home, you know, my mom would always tell me, she'd be like, I like her a lot. You know,
she
like,
called me over more than you did.
Yeah, and like I'm Italian, so my family is just 475 primary family members. So they just like engulfed Kristen and
they're like, oh, she likes to eat dinner?
Yes, oh yeah. Kristen has a great appetite, and coming over to our family events, they just loved that she wasn't shy and would like enjoy all their food, because, you know, people are always like, no, I'm okay, thank you, whatever. Yeah. But they would just put out.
They invited me to everything. 12 courses. Yeah. That was amazing, because I come from a smaller family, so going into his family that's this big Italian, fun, loud family was like the most exciting thing for me. And there's birthdays every weekend and get-togethers all the time. So we were very much intertwined, very young, and your family's my family. They're the best.
No, they married Kristen before I got to ask.
Literally.
Yeah.
We actually didn't have many events leading up to the wedding because we were in a different country, living in the States, working here, and we were actually in the middle of moving from California to Nashville. Mm-hmm. So it was a very busy time, and it felt like adding more onto the plate wasn't really in the picture. So we didn't do a bridal shower, we didn't do bachelor and bachelorette parties. We just kind of saved it all for the big shebang at the end.
Yep.
So the additional thing we did on top of our wedding was a welcome party, which was the best idea ever. We did a welcome party boat cruise the night before the wedding because we had so many guests coming in from out of town, out of the country. We had people coming in from Scotland and the US and all over Canada. So we really wanted to show our guests where we grew up in a really special way. So we took them on a sunset boat cruise. It was the best thing ever. So that allowed us to mix and mingle with our guests before the wedding day. It kind of took away the nerves, I would say, too, because we already got to see everybody, and it just felt like a whole weekend.
That was kind of everything in one.
It was everything in one.
Yeah, we got to like do it all in one. Like, not that was a bachelor or bachelorette party or an engagement party, but it was kind of like, that conglomerate of events into one.
Yeah.
And that was Kristen's idea. Like, it was the most, I thought it was, like, at the beginning, I was like, really? You really want to do that? And she's like, let's do it.
Yeah, it felt a little bit extra, but
it was worth it.
We went to some weddings that had welcome parties, and I loved that idea, especially if you have a wedding on a Sunday like we did. It allowed for the entire weekend to be a celebration. Yeah, I was getting a lot of even feedback from some friends saying they went to weddings that had welcome parties and they loved how fun that was. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to include that as well, and that was one of my favorite parts, actually. That was so cool.
It was, yeah. We got married in Toronto, Canada.
At Graydon Hall Manor.
At Graydon Hall Manor.
We picked Graydon Hall Manor pretty much right away. I saw photos of it online the day we got engaged. The day we got engaged,
that's right.
We were with our family, so
they immediately were looking at venues.
Started looking at venues.
The second to get engaged, immediately on the laptop.
And we saw pictures of it, and it had everything. It was like a stone historic manor. It had a tented terrace for dinner, so that was like, okay, if weather is a problem, at least there's that. I love the look of a tent as well. And then a whole European garden lawn. It was stunning. So we saw one more venue before that, and it felt a little bit chaotic. It was a little bit more of a public space. And then when we went to Graydon Hall, it was private, it was quiet. Immediately we looked at each other, we're like, this is it. Like,
yeah, immediately.
We need this place.
Immediately, yes.
That was such a fun day too.
Yeah.
You were wearing this shirt that day.
Was I? Dude, she remembers you. The memory of an elephant over here.
It was so fun.
How do you remember that?
The color palette for our wedding was actually very in line with the colors that we used in our home.
I need to preface all this by saying that if this would have been up to me, it would have been a disaster. This would have been publicized everywhere. So I was like, Kristen, you just do whatever you want. I trust your vision, and she's super talented. So I'm like, whatever palette and stuff you want to work with, I support 1,000%. So thank God that she handled all of that.
So when I was picking color palettes for our wedding, I went with colors that would work well with our venue. So I was looking at the stone on the building and the flowers that they had planted in the gardens, and I really wanted to work into that existing palette. So we went with a light sage, a cream, like 2 shades of mauve. I feel like that natural palette really suited the venue well. I heard people at the venue actually saying, this is the perfect Graydon Hall wedding because it looks so good with the venue. So that was my goal. I wanted it all just to look very natural there. And I think we nailed it.
We.
Remember you were part of the napkin discussion?
I did. I decided on the napkins.
He said
that was my claim to fame.
Sage ones.
Yep. I did decide on the napkins, right?
Yeah. We used a website called Minted for our wedding invitations, and you're really able to customize your wedding invitations, add as many different pieces to the invites as you want. So I thought, let's simplify this and just do one nice invite. So I designed the invite. Christian kind of picked the overall design. I had a few options I would lay out for him and he would narrow down on the one he liked. Mm-hmm. And I remember when we got it back, I thought, this just isn't enough. I need it to be a little bit more elaborate because we were putting so much effort into planning the wedding that I wanted the invite to also speak to that. So we added in a details card, It was a package.
Yeah.
We had vellum wrap, we had bows, we had the night before invite, we had a dress code card. So just all the details you would need to know about the entire weekend. I thought this whole package can answer all the questions the guests might have.
And I picked it. First time we saw each other was down the aisle.
Yeah, the first time we saw each other was going down the aisle, which was so exciting. That's exactly how we wanted it to be. And we actually got told that first looks are very popular and it can help with your timeline and shooting more photos, but we really wanted to just save that for walking down the aisle. So we didn't do a first look, and I'm still glad we didn't do one.
Oh yeah.
I think that was like so exhilarating.
It made it way more impactful seeing you for the first time.
And I remember walking down the aisle and like, you know, when your vision can finally like see all the details, I was like, you look so good, because like you just see him in the suit. It was so amazing. So I would not change that. I totally recommend not having a first look, actually.
What was going through my mind seeing Kristen walk down the aisle the first time? I was trying not to pass out. That was like the main thing. It's so nerve-wracking when it's your wedding.
Yes.
Like obviously when you're attending other people's weddings, you don't have, I mean, you can have some nerves if it's close family or friends where you're like, ooh, I'm a little bit nervous for them. But when it's your wedding, I was like, oh my God, all the eyes are on me and Kristen.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
And like, I'm trying to focus on the moment and you just have, someone's looking at you. But yeah, like when Kristen came down the aisle, you can't, I don't know how people don't cry. You know, you see some people like the majority of people get emotional like when they see their wife for the first time. Like, it's just impossible not to cry. It's just overwhelming, an overwhelming amount of emotions. And yeah, it was very special. And she looked beautiful. Like the dress that she picked, she was hinting at like she had tried different options or different types of dresses, and then she picked this one that she's like really happy with.
I was like, I hope you like it too.
No, it was beautiful, and she was beautiful. It was just so many emotions. Yeah.
Oh, dress shopping was a journey. I feel like I went to every store. I actually started my dress shopping journey in Toronto so I could shop with my sister and my mom just to get that experience first. I wasn't really feeling a pressure to find something there and then, but I just wanted to get the whole bridal experience. So we went to a few different salons and it was so much fun. I tried on pretty much everything just to get to see what it would all look like. But I think in the back of my head, I had an idea of what I wanted. And as I would try on more dresses, it became more clear. I think at first I was thinking I'll go with something very simple and clean because that's typically what I wear, is just like not so much pattern, not a lot of details. But then when I started putting on these more simple dresses, I was thinking, I don't know, it just feels like if it was in black, I could wear it to an event. I wanted something that felt very bridal and special. I actually had to kind of customize this dress to make it into what I imagined. I found this designer, Monique Lillier, and she does 2-look dresses. So she does these jackets or arms that can be removed from your dress, because I always imagined only wearing one dress for my wedding. I didn't want to have 2 looks and like do a whole change. But then when I saw this designer that allows for different looks with the same dress, I thought that's very unique. So I got really stuck on all of her dresses and tried so many of them on, and I ended up going with this painted organza dress. It was like, it looked like lace on the bottom, but it was super flowy, long, lightweight organza that could just float in the wind, and I thought that would be perfect for outside.
Organza.
And it had these beautiful flowers painted on the fabric that were very light and subtle, but I felt like it worked with our whole like European garden party look, and it just was something different that I've never seen before. So I thought that's exciting to do something a little bold in a way. And then the top kind of transitioned into lace. So it was a strapless dress that I then added arms to create this 2-look dress. So I had arms for our ceremony and for the dinner, and then I removed them to be able to dance. And they were pretty much made out of the same lace that was on my dress. So it just kind of transitioned and looked really cool. But I love the look of arms on a dress, like lace arms, because all those side shots that you get as a bride is like, they just look so dramatic. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I loved dress shopping. I kind of wish that I could do it again. It was so much fun. Okay, I wanted to bring in my Scottish heritage with a bagpiper. And I just had the bagpiper for guests' arrival, and I felt like it made it very dramatic. And as you come into this manor, you have this bagpiper there, and it just was so cool. I saw all my guests taking pictures with him, and it just kind of set the tone. And my parents had a bagpiper at their wedding doing the same thing, so we just incorporated that just for an hour, and then he left. So we did that. We also incorporated kind of his Italian culture with a gelato cart.
Yep.
That was fun.
And we didn't get to try it.
We didn't get to try it, which we're still upset about. We were too busy taking pictures.
We missed out on all of the
there were so many flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But our guests got to have gelato during the cocktail hour, so that was a kind of fun, playful thing to do. And then I would say the thing that really brought our personality to life was our notes to our guests. That was super special. We did this huge wall. They were pretty much seating cards that allowed your guests to see what table they're supposed to be at so they can find their seat for dinner. But in each card and in each envelope was a personalized note to each guest. So we wrote 150 something notes, and we spent months writing those on every airplane trip, and every downtime moment we were writing these notes to our guests, because we just really wanted everyone to know like how much we appreciated them coming all this way for us, and how much our community of people means to us, and how they've built us into this couple. So that was like my favorite thing. I loved that part.
Yeah. Yeah, those customized notes were really special.
And then our first dance song. Look After You. By The Fray. That was nice. We always dance in the kitchen, just in our daily life, and it is a song that we play a lot. We really like The Fray. Christian can play some Fray songs on the piano.
Yep, I can. It's the only thing I can play on the piano is The Fray.
Yeah, and it just felt like a song. It felt like a song that you don't typically see as first dance songs. I feel like, you know, if you start going down those lists of playlists, first dance songs, trying to get ideas, I'm hearing them all over and over again. So this felt like something really different. And some of our guests
something that we like to, between us.
Yeah, it was nice. Just, it would look after you. Yeah. Because we look after each other.
Yeah.
So cute. Ooh, I loved walking back out down the aisle with you. That was so fun. Just like being together now and like doing our little dip that we never practiced that turned out great, and just like wooing each other on the way back. Just like, we did it. Like, wow. And that was like so exciting. You know, you just feel like on another level.
Cloud 9.
Yeah, that was really fun. Oh, and our dance party.
The dance party was fun.
We had the best dance party.
We did have the best dance party.
So when we were choosing our list of songs, we did that together. That was such a fun day as well, just picking our playlists and like choosing must-have songs. Christian chose a song from the Titanic. It's called
Is it
Party in the Third...
Party in the Third Floor?
Third Floor, Party in the Third Class, something like that.
Party in the Third Class?
It's pretty much this like kind of Celtic song that plays in the basement of the Titanic.
It's when Jack takes a Rose
on her tippy toes.
And he says, "Do you want to go to a real party?" And he takes her to I think it was Party in the Third Class or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. And he was like, "We need to have this song on our wedding." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that." And then the DJ played it, and that got the party started. We were swinging around, everyone's linking arms. It was like so exhilarating.
Yeah, it was really
that
fun.
Made the party like come to life, and it was so different. Like, who plays that at their wedding, you know?
We did. We're going to go down in history.
That was such a good idea.
Yeah, it was fun. And everyone's reaction to it was good too, because everyone,
because they all knew it.
Yeah, they know it, and they hear it and like, "Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, is this
I
the
know
Titanic?"
This. Yeah. My favorite moment was our first dance.
That was nice.
Because like...
That was like really pretty
Yeah.
too.
That was like one of those magical moments that you wait for, and then
it was
you're in
calm.
it. Yes, and then you're just around everybody that you care about at the wedding is just circled around you, and it was just really special.
That was
my favorite moment for sure.
We had these sparklers around us because we did our first dance out off of the terrace, so our guests could kind of look off of the terrace, and they all had sparklers, so it was just glowing around us. It felt really magical. That was fun.
Yeah. I think it's just having been in our relationship for as long as we have and having grown together, there's something just so exciting about knowing that that's like the first leg of our relationship, and we've done so much together and experienced so much together and accomplished so much together, that like that being the first leg is so rewarding. And now looking forward to this next season of life, like getting to have kids and build a family and like get to bring,
more people into our little bubble here.
Exactly.
It's so fun.
And also bring like a lot of our good qualities that we've
learned,
that we've gained over the years of being in this relationship to like our family dynamic, and that's what excites me. And I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. We literally just talk about being parents together and raising a family that's exactly what we always imagined, and just having a joyful home, and we're so excited for that.
That I love the most about the person sitting next to me. We're not going to cry on camera here today. We're not doing it. Kristen is truly my other half. Like she completes me, in the best ways. We're not going to cry here on camera today.
Why are your eyes getting teary?
My eyes aren't getting teary. It's because you're looking at me.
I won't look.
And that's when that happens. She's truly my other half and completes me in all of the best ways. Yeah, like I just am able to grow and just do so much better as a man because of Kristen. So
I love that you allow me and everyone else to really be themselves, and you really encourage everyone to be the best version of themselves, whether that be their character, their career, their health, like everything. You just want truly the best for me and everyone, and I just really appreciate that like you allow me just to be me. I don't have to put anything on or be any specific way to make it work for you. We just so seamlessly work together naturally. Plus you're like the most entertaining person ever, that I feel so lucky. Like, it's such a small detail, but not really, that you're just so funny, like funnier than what you'd ever see online, and I get the best of it. So to be able to laugh and giggle and be so playful every day, and like for things not to be so serious, and like we're just here for like a good time with each other, and like that is the most I could ever ask for. It's just like pure happiness. So you're the one that sets the tone there, I would say.
It's a duo.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wedding Worthy for more. Today on Wedding Worthy, we're celebrating the timeless love story of Mac and Denver, a couple whose journey proves that fate always finds a way. After years of friendship, life's twists and turns brought them back together, and once they reconnected, they never looked back. Their wedding was a stunning tribute to love, set at a country club deeply tied to Mac's family history. With a rich color palette, custom details, and a breathtaking glass tent, their fall garden celebration was elegant, personal, and unforgettable. Join us as we relive Mac and Denver's beautifully curated wedding weekend. Welcome to Wedding Worthy, where we celebrate incredible couples and the love stories that shape their perfect day.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
From heartfelt vows to breathtaking designs, every wedding detail reflects the journey that brought them together.
It was everything I could have ever imagined, and I was so happy with how everything had turned out.
So get ready to swoon as we take you inside the most extraordinary weddings and the love stories that make them wedding worthy. You're watching Wedding Worthy, where we believe every couple has a story.
I'm Mac O'Keefe.
I'm Denver Mead.
And we got married on October 26th of 2024. We live in Fort Worth, Texas, and we both work for Denver's family company in accounts receivable management.
I guess we've always had mutual friends. I shouldn't say always, but ever since college. Mac being from St. Louis, he had a lot of friends that either went to TCU or SMU from high school. And so we always kind of knew of each other just from those mutual friends, but we didn't really meet and connect until May of 2018 when we were both in New York for this ALS charity fundraiser event that a lot of Mac's college friends always put on every year.
I think we met, we had all of our friends with us. We instantly became good friends and had a great time together and got to stay in touch over the years. A lot of friends who would get married to each other, and we had
6 months later we were at the same wedding in St. Louis, and then
we were at Mardi Gras together on the same party bus in St. Louis, and so we got to
with both of our exes,
with both former partners, and as time went on, we just kept running into each other and stayed close.
There was always something kind of there, I will have to say. We both became available, I guess.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, I was in Las Vegas visiting Mac at a work conference, and just happened to be his birthday weekend. So
and then,
technically our first date was in Vegas, but
it was.
Hate to say it, but it's true.
But yeah, and from there we were dating long distance, and here we are.
And that was almost 4 years exactly after we met. I think the first time that we knew that this could be something serious and long-term is actually when we met in New York, or at least I think for me it was, I think for him too, but we were both still dating other people at the time, but like I said, we had those mutual friends and it was kind of just an instant connection, but nothing actually happened until 4 years later.
I think it's also that you're living different cities, you're dating other people, your life seems great, and it's, you have a connection with somebody, you like them, but it doesn't seem feasible at the time, and so we stayed friends over the years. And then I guess when we both were single and we got to meet each other officially, our first date in Las Vegas, after that weekend, it was like everything was so easy and we had a great time. And again, wasn't expecting the first date to be Las Vegas, but we knew if it could work there, it could work anywhere. So we made it happen.
I guess how we got engaged or how it came about was Mac had just moved down here, which I guess almost 2 years ago from now. And obviously if he's moving from St. Louis to Fort Worth, there's probably a little more than just we're moving in together that's going to happen.
So at least.
So as soon as he moved in, we were like, you know, changing jobs, moving states, driving a U-Haul down here a couple times. Like we were like, all right, we need a weekend just to like get away and like not have anything. So we decided to go skiing. That gave us a chance to talk about like the future a little bit. And while we were out there, there's a jewelry store that is a certified dealer for the watches that we were looking at. And at the time, watches were basically impossible to come by, especially new ones like from the store. You could buy them secondhand for a very high markup, but you couldn't just go walk in a store and buy something that you wanted.
I also want to say that coming from someone who likes watches a lot, I don't particularly love or care that much about watches. But when we did go shopping just to have fun and look around at things, there was one watch that I really, really liked a lot, which I was surprised about because I just normally don't get excited about watches, and it's the one that I'm wearing right now. But I knew it was hard, to get, and I also at that moment wasn't looking to actually get a watch. Was just trying to have fun and look at stuff with Denver.
And one of Mac's best friends from high school, his family and him now owns the certified dealer for these watches in St. Louis and is the go-to place, Simon's. So I had already kind of started the process with Jonathan and told Jonathan like what I was looking for and what I thought Mac might like. Well, after we went to Colorado and looked at all these watches, like it was not what I had predicted that he would like. So the day we got back from Colorado, I texted Jonathan. I was like, hey, like, here's what he actually wants. Like, I was wrong. Like, I hope that you haven't got anything in and put anything back for me, yada, yada. And he texts me back immediately and says, call me now. So I call him. He goes, I just got this watch in that you're wanting 2 days ago. It doesn't have anyone's name on it yet. I haven't even like logged it into our system that it's been received. Like if you want it, it's yours. So I immediately was like, well, he's not going to get another one. He told me that. He was like, I'm not going to get another one for at least a year. So I took that as a sign to just bite the bullet and wasn't really expecting to make that kind of purchase at that time. But, I was like, all right, here we go. So bought it, and thankfully Jonathan kept it for about 4 months until I decided what I wanted engraved on the back, and then had it engraved, and I picked the day that I was going to do the proposal, and proposal happened 5 months after I bought it, I think.
I wouldn't have been able to wait that long.
That's a whole other subject.
Yeah, I would have done it like the next day. There's no way I could have actually planned that out and held on to something for 5 months.
No.
But thank you.
I had Timing is Everything, Love DLM engraved on the watch. Timing to watch. Not to be like kitschy or like cliche or anything, but like we really do say like from the time we met, like even though we did have a connection instantly, like there's a good chance like it probably wouldn't have worked out in those stages of our lives.
Right.
So, yeah, that's another timing is everything aspect to it. It's like, we had to wait and be a little patient for everything to work out and the timing to work out, and timing is everything. So,
he proposed to me in our kitchen on a Saturday morning. We had gone out the night before, went to a friend's dinner party. I wasn't feeling my tip top, we'll put it lightly, and I was making a smoothie and was saying, we should go pick this up and go do these errands. And he has this whole plan of throwing a party that evening. Friends are flying in town. And I'm like, let's go look at, let's go to the grocery store. And
meanwhile, one of his best friends is like getting her nails done like a few blocks away, just kind of waiting for me to say go or like what the plan is. Because there really wasn't a plan except for just that night. I had no idea where I was going to propose, like what I was going to do. It just kind of like happened. And
then
I was sitting on the couch and saw him making this smoothie.
I was eating peanut butter.
Yeah, not in the best state. I was like, this is kind of the perfect situation.
So he proposed to me. He got down on one knee. I'm in the middle of eating peanut butter, and I look down, and he's holding a watch, and his eyes look all,
Which I was like
teary-eyed.
very cool, calm, and collected, like the entire time, except for that.
Yeah. You looked a little googly-eyed. He's down on one knee. I see him holding a watch. I'm eating peanut butter. And I see the watch, and in my mind, it's like, oh, that was the watch I really liked in Colorado.
You're kind of like this asshole.
And I thought, I was thinking to myself, like, that's really weird that he's like proposing to me with maybe this watch he bought for himself, or, and I'm like, oh, that's a good looking watch. What are you doing down there? And then I'm like, oh, he's proposing to me right now. This is actually happening. And so obviously I said yes, and it was just the perfect moment. It wasn't anything. We weren't on some random island or anything. It was just sitting in our kitchen, me not feeling my tip top on Saturday morning and eating peanut butter.
Yeah. Then we went to lunch at one of our favorite places. Weather was nice. And as we're having lunch, here come three of his best friends, like popping over a boulder. He still had no idea that they were in town. And
so that was a huge surprise.
Another little shell shock of the day. And
Denver's really good at like planning things out, and I'm not as great about planning things out. So I just thought that was it. I was eating breakfast in our kitchen, and I got an engagement watch, and I was like, well, we're getting married. And I didn't even imagine that friends were coming in town. That later that evening, there's a huge cocktail surprise party, which I had literally thought we were just going out to dinner with our friends and some family. So he did a really good job with it all. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I went to St. Louis Country Day School, MICDS for high school, and then I went to the University of Virginia for college. I have a very large extended family in St. Louis. Growing up, a lot of cousins, aunt and uncle lived on the same street where I grew up, grandmother just around the block. It was, honestly, I loved how I grew up with my family, with my friends, and we ended up getting married in St. Louis, which made it extra special.
I love St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's fun.
My mother passed away about 10 years ago. So she obviously couldn't be at the wedding, but we ended up having a lot of things at the wedding that made it special and made it feel like she was with us. And my parents actually ended up getting married. They did get married at the same venue where we got married, which made it special in St. Louis.
Yeah. And your grandparents and great-grandparents also had wedding-related events there. So there wasn't really a discussion when we decided, or when we were talking about where we were going to get married with my parents. It was kind of like, well, I think we're doing it in St. Louis. So
when I first got to introduce, when I first brought Denver around my family, they heard of him from us, dating long distance, and then they got to come in town. And I think one of the first family things we did together were just cocktails with my grandparents. My grandmother, her nickname's Kitty, and she's 91 years old. And my grandfather, we just call him Jim, had cocktails at their house, and they were all excited. They loved that he was from Texas, and they couldn't quite remember his name, though. His name's Denver, and every other sentence was Dallas, or I don't even...
Austin. Jim likes to call me El Paso, just for
Jim,
fun.
Now he's just El Paso because the Denver thing was really tough. They couldn't figure that one out, but they loved him. They'd say goodbye, Dallas, we'll see you later, and you just kind of roll with that. And to this day, my grandparents call him El Paso.
I am born and raised Fort Worth, Texas. We are still here. I have never left. I went to TCU, Texas Christian University, and it's based here. So yeah, Fort Worth through and through. My family, in short, I'm an only child. My mom is from Fort Worth. My dad is from Oklahoma, grew up on a cattle ranch. I grew up kind of in the horse industry. Instead of playing, football or whatever it was, I rode cutting horses, and that's what I did. And I competed nationally, and I traveled as much as I needed to show, whether it was California, Georgia, wherever it was. As soon as I went to college, I discovered a social life and having fun and, being in a fraternity and all that kind of stuff. And horses, hate to say it, went out the window.
I will say I still would tell everyone to this day that Denver's like a cowboy or Yellowstone or whatever you want to call it. So that was always a big intro, and he's like, I haven't done that in quite some time.
It's been 15 years.
But I like to say that he's still a cowboy.
It's still in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first time that you met my parents, since I'm an only child, there wasn't really much to go off of. They kind of knew. They were like, well, I think this is it. I think this is the one. Like, especially after 3 weeks after me becoming single, I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to Vegas this weekend to see a guy. And at first she was like, are you serious? Like, really? And then I'm like, no, it's not like that. It's different. And then when she finally met Max, she was like, oh, this is different.
I also, after lunch, after meeting his parents, they're like the sweetest people ever. They like really love each other and are really kind to each other, which is like a little different from how maybe my parents were growing up. So I started crying, I think, a little bit on the way to the airport.
I was like, oh my God, they're so sweet to each other. I'm like, okay.
And I'm like, not used to that. Normally I'm used to like some jabs and, and his parents were like, just his dad and his mom they mentioned so many times how much they loved each other. And I thought it was the sweetest thing ever. So yeah, I was excited to meet them, and I think we had a good first meeting. They didn't see me cry.
You do a long distance relationship. You've known somebody for so long, and like, yes, you're such good friends, but like that time that you're together when you're visiting, it's still just like 3 days. You're not living with somebody. So I will say, like, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. Like the biggest adjustment we've had to do is when we moved in together and just getting used to each other's odd quirks or whatever it was, just, living with another person, no matter who you are, there's always going to be something you do differently. And we do obviously some stuff differently because we're different people. And so it's just that was a little bit of an adjustment. Like I said, not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like, it just is what it is. It's
when you're in a relationship, it's two completely different lives coming together. You grew up a different way. You care about a lot of things we care about are very similar. We do things differently.
Communicate a different way, though.
And you go from, especially if you're long distance, you go from hanging out, for long weekends, and then you are spending
24/7.
Especially when you work together, that's a whole nother dynamic to it. So it was definitely for us. It went from like 0 to 100. It felt like where we moved in together, our dogs. Everything, my stuff came in here, and we just kind of started making our life together.
Leading up to the wedding, I would say we each did normal bachelor parties with like friends from home or fraternity brothers or whatever. Like Mac went to Chicago, I went to Montreal. You had about 20 guys on yours, and I think there was a total of 10 on mine. And then obviously, like, we have some very good girlfriends. So we, instead of like doing another trip and just kind of being the only guy on the trip, we decided to do a joint trip together with both of our good girlfriends and us to Palm Beach, Florida. And there was 16 or so people on that. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, every trip was a blast.
I think it was a great way for us to both do separate bachelor trips with the guys, and then for our kind of like mutual girlfriends all get together and get away and do something together on a trip. It made it definitely a fun dynamic with the friend groups all getting together and people getting to meet before the wedding.
Did the rehearsal dinner at Deer Creek Club in St. Louis, and It's another very cool venue that a long time ago was a hunting lodge that is now an event space, a dinner club for members and stuff. So we had the rehearsal dinner there, and it was great, and everybody loved it. And then we had our welcome party, which ended up probably being about 180 people come to the same location after the rehearsal dinner was over.
Yeah, it's an awesome place. It was
a special aspect of it.
Yeah, there's a slide that they pull out that takes people from a balcony down to the main dining dance floor. So everyone,
it's like a big metal slide that it literally hooks onto the balcony. You climb between the balcony rails that was looking over where we were having dinner, and especially after a few drinks and stuff, it's a party.
It's a lot of fun. Most people aren't expecting to go to a rehearsal dinner and go down an old metal slide
holding a martini or something.
Yeah. So that was definitely fun. Denver and I got married on October 26th of 2024 at a country club where my family and I grew up going in St. Louis, Missouri.
When we started talking to my parents about where we were going to have it and, all the things that you have to talk about when starting to plan a wedding, we really felt strongly that we wanted to do it at the same place where Mac's parents got married, and his grandparents and great-grandparents also had wedding-related events at the club. It was just something that we really wanted to do, especially since Mac's mom is no longer with us. Like, we thought it would be a really special aspect to, even more so have her there with us that weekend.
And it's also, on top of it just being a special place for my family, it's an awesome, beautiful place. And it made, I think, a lot of the decisions that we had to make during the actual wedding process easy. If you have a fun, pretty venue, you don't have to worry about some of the other choices.
We tried to keep things pretty simple and not really go crazy or over the top with things. I know some people would say otherwise, but weddings can be crazy, and we really tried to keep things as dialed down and just great and true to us as possible.
Also, with the timing of the wedding being the fall, it wasn't super hot outside. It was a little risky because we wanted to do a lot of things
outside.
Yeah,
a lot of the areas that we used for the wedding, most people tent those just out of precautionary measures, and we chose to take a chance. And if there was rain, we were just gonna have a different layout and do a lot of stuff inside that we hadn't planned on. Thankfully, everything worked out, and we truly could not have asked for better weather.
Yeah, it wasn't 110 degrees, which
it was perfect.
I struggle with a little bit, being in a tux. So I think a lot of the wedding was actually planned around Mac not having to be in a tuxedo in July in Texas or St. Louis. So being in October was the perfect time for us to do it.
We really wanted it to be like a guy's wedding, and it be very nice and a traditional wedding, but it not be like all these pastel colors and flowers everywhere and over the top, and just that's just not really us.
It was two guys getting married, so we had to, we didn't want it to be too whimsical. But I think color-wise, we thought greens and some browns.
Neutrals, and really just help keep it basic, but also warm at the same time. And I would say it was pretty different.
Simple. It was simple. The first guest came. Everyone were seated. We were sitting in a back room in the clubhouse. It was me, Denver, and your mother, and we were sitting in a back room, kind of watching everyone outside getting seated. And I wasn't expecting to see my grandmother, and then I see her being pushed in a wheelchair across the lawn to be seated, and in the back of my mind, all I could think is she wouldn't want anyone to see her be pushed out there.
Right now.
Yeah, she would not be happy. So I'm kind of oh no, this should have been done differently. So she's, being wheeled out there. I can see her saying, "Oh, I don't want to be anywhere near here," and they're slowly pushing her to the front. And I'm like, "Oh man, this is going to be interesting." So that was Actually, it was just kind of funny.
No, it was funny. It was sweet because we weren't expecting her. So that was a great moment, but also just like hilarious because just knowing her, she wouldn't have want anyone to see her being pushed out in a wheelchair. She would, if she had it up to her, she'd be walking out in stilettos.
Yeah.
But she just didn't get her way. So.
Yeah. So she got pushed out there, and then we walked down the aisle, and that was one thing that we weren't really sure about how to do since my two guys, and my mother isn't with us. My dad unfortunately couldn't be at the wedding, so it was like, how do we
make this as normal as possible without like it being weird that two guys are getting married?
Well, yeah, so we ended up walking together. We walked Denver's mom down the aisle, which ended up being really sweet and special. I think that ended up being a really special part of the whole day, actually, because I feel like she's kind of, she's really taken me in and been an incredible mom to me as well. So it was nice to kind of share that moment and start off the ceremony.
And it was her day too, anyways. I mean,
it was. She was a big proponent and big piece of
the planning process. And making the wedding happen.
Yeah.
For the reception, what I just keep hearing over and over again from our guests and friends is everybody was talking about the energy. Yes, it was great. In my opinion, we threw a beautiful wedding, and it was a lot of fun with a lot of great aspects, but everybody was just there having so much fun. They were so happy to be there to celebrate us, and it's just what I keep continually hearing is everybody said it was just the energy. Like, everybody was feeding off of each other, they were feeding off of us, and it wasn't wild, but it definitely made for a good time.
Yeah, everyone seemed like they're having a great time. It wasn't, it was easy.
Like, whatever wedding you're at, you feed off the couple, and I feel like we were obviously happy to be there, and we like to have a good time, and everybody, fed off that, and it was just kind of a domino effect throughout the evening.
I'd say one of my, maybe one of the top memories was just both of us crowd surfing in the tent, which was a fun moment. And also when we took a photo on a staircase where both of my parents actually took a photo the same place on their wedding day.
They did their exit photo in the same spot.
And so that was fun to do it exactly where they had done it, and was definitely a special moment for our wedding. I'm most excited about for us as a married couple is to eventually start the family process and kids. I just think it'll be such a fun aspect to just our lives and having a growing family. And I want four or five kids, and that number we've kind of
we're gonna shave that down a little bit.
But either way, even if it's one kid or whatever it is, I'm excited to start a family with Denver.
I would say my favorite aspect of Mac is he is everyone's favorite person. He is the most dynamic person in the room. He's the most lovable. Any room you walk into, you're just going to be the easiest, most favorite person to talk to and hang out with.
Thank you. I would say that my favorite thing about Denver is that I've never felt more comfortable and just easy around somebody else. Sometimes it can be stressful being in a relationship and awkward, and I feel like I always just feel like I'm my best self and having the best time with him, and he makes me feel like difficult things are easy. And so I think it's just that kind of partnership where it's right and that this is the right person for you. That's probably my favorite thing about you.
I will say, both of our answers kind of play into the first time we met. It's I immediately was like, oh my gosh, this is my new best friend. This guy's awesome. But then also, it was just a very easy, comfortable aspect of things too. So
it's nice when your your spouse is your best friend, it definitely makes for an awesome marriage. And obviously there are difficult parts, but overall, life's a lot more fun and easier when you're best friends.
You're watching Wedding Worthy, where we believe every couple has a story. Today on Wedding Worthy, we're sharing the modern-day fairy tale of Cara and Sam Reese, a couple who swiped right on love and never looked back. Their wedding was a breathtaking blend of modern elegance and romance, inspired by Netflix's show Bridgerton, but reimagined for a dreamy fall celebration. Set at a stunning winery with lush gardens, every detail from the vibrant florals to personal musical performances made their day uniquely theirs. Welcome to Wedding Worthy, where we celebrate incredible couples and the love stories that shape their perfect day.
Now we're the Taylors.
We're married.
From heartfelt vows to breathtaking designs, every wedding detail reflects the journey that brought them together.
It was everything I could have ever imagined, and I was so happy with how everything had turned out.
So get ready to swoon as we take you inside the most extraordinary weddings and the love stories that make them wedding worthy. You're watching Wedding Worthy, where we believe every couple has a story.
Hi, I'm Cara Reese,
I'm Sam Reese.
and we got married on September 21st, 2024. So Sam and I met on a dating app. We used Bumble.
Yeah.
Technically, I had to send the first message, right? Mm-hmm. And we decided to meet because it was COVID. It was 2020, and lockdowns were still happening. So we were trying to find some place that had outdoor seating, which at the time was a little difficult to do.
Who knew that it would blossom into a marriage? First impressions, I was a little taken aback. We had a great conversation, I think. Mm-hmm. And she ended up coming back to my house and meeting my cat. So
Yeah, that was your sell.
yeah.
So my first impression of Sam, he was the first person that I went on a date with that I felt like was genuinely listening to what I was sharing.
She has a lot to say.
It was really interested.
Good things, yeah.
It was really interested in what I was sharing and asked a lot of questions, which I feel like first dates are oftentimes, I don't know, in my experience have been the opposite, like me asking a lot of questions and trying to get to know the other person. We talked a lot about music.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
I think the second date, I mentioned that I was buying a house, and Cara mentioned that she is good at painting. So naturally, I asked her to come over to my new house, which was quite a fixer-upper, and help me paint. As nice enough as she is, she agreed. So on our third date, she came over to this kind of a sketchy house, a little bit. I needed to paint the whole house, and the whole house had these shag carpets, so I wanted to paint before I ripped up those carpets, just so we can make a bit of a mess. And she cut in almost all of the walls. I was really impressed with her work ethic, and I think maybe you were a little
surprised at how much work we were gonna do. Yeah. I went into it thinking like, oh, I'm just like painting a living room and maybe a bedroom or something, like no big deal. And I got there and it was the entire first floor needed painted.
It's a smaller house, but
it was a smaller house, but I definitely was surprised. And the whole process of me painting, I was texting my best friend Jilly, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I got myself into. Like, I must really like this guy if I am willing to put myself through all of this, especially when it came to ripping out carpets. I'd never done that before, and I was going through like pulling nails out of the all the like carpet tacks and everything.
I was like, hey, while you're here, let's do it.
Yeah, it was interesting to say the least, but definitely worked out, huh?
Yeah.
It was worth it. So the moment I realized that I think this really could go somewhere with Sam, a little backstory. So I decided to apply to some grad schools because I decided, maybe I want to become a therapist and like start a whole new career. And so as I was applying to some of these grad schools and through the process of interviewing, there were a couple that were out of the state of Pennsylvania. And there was one in particular that I applied to that was in Pittsburgh that would have kept me in the area. But the more I spent time with Sam, I found myself not really wanting to go out of state very much anymore, and really hoping that that application in Pittsburgh would work out. And the second I got the acceptance letter, I actually had just pulled out of your driveway, and I whipped my car back around and came running in the door, and I was like, I got in! And you immediately asked me to be your girlfriend.
Yeah, officially, yeah.
That was definitely like the moment for me that I knew I had someone special.
We did a trip to New York before we officially were dating, and we had a really good conversation at a brunch, and I remember seeing kind of a good spark develop there. The proposal story is I was thinking of how I could do it special. Of course, I drove to her mom's house and got permission. But my idea was we had a trip upcoming to Arizona. I was able to get a great ring with her best friend's help. So there's this mountain that we both really enjoy called Camelback Mountain. I knew that I wanted to propose to her on this outlook because the last time I had hiked that mountain, I was by myself. It was early in the morning, and I come up on this early kind of platform on the hike, and the sun was like just rising, and it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. It like hit me at that moment where I was like, I should propose to Cara here. So a few days into our trip, we did do that hike, and I was able to propose to her in that exact spot. So I set up the GoPro like we were taking a picture, and had the ring in my little Camelback water backpack. Set up the GoPro like I was taking a picture, but it was actually a video, and did the whole kneel down and
totally shocked me.
Total surprise. She had no idea.
No idea that it was coming.
Afterwards, we still hiked the whole mountain, and
with the biggest adrenaline rush ever. I think that was the fastest I've ever hiked that trail before. So I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally, and I am a child and adolescent therapist. Music has always been super important to me, and my family has been really, really supportive of that over the years. And I went to college in Florida State was where I went, go Noles, and studied musical theater there, and eventually lived in New York for a period of time and was traveling all over the country performing in regional theater shows, and absolutely loved it. But when COVID happened, I decided to go back to school. I had always had a really deep interest in counseling and just wanting to help other people and work with individuals on some of the challenges they're facing in their lives. And so I went back to school, and now I kind of specialize in working with children and adolescents. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Introducing Sam to my family was a little interesting. I kind of kept him a secret for a period of time, mostly because my family has a tendency when someone new comes along to really blow up and make it a very big deal. And because we weren't really sure what was happening with me, staying in Pittsburgh or not, and I kind of wanted to keep him to myself a little bit. So when I finally did decide, okay, let's have him meet the crew, the whole fam, he came over to my sister's house. We had dinner, and he showed up with flowers for my mom, which was great. That's a great tip.
But it was a surprise for your mom.
It was. Yeah. So my sisters knew he was going to be there. Right. I had told them about what was going on with Sam before I officially told my mom. And so my mom was not anticipating him being there, but I think it was a very good introduction. Yeah. My family is very loud and over the top and a little bit dramatic. That's what you get when you've got all girls, right?
Yeah, they're not that bad.
No. But it honestly went so much better than I was anticipating, and he handled it like a pro. I was more worried about him being overwhelmed by everything, but You did a really good job with it.
I'm good with moms. So.
You were good with moms. But the big important meeting, I feel like, was my best friend Jilly, introducing him to Jilly, because if you can't get past your best friend, you're not going anywhere, right? And so that also went really well.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe she grilled you a little bit at first, but eventually
a little bit,
out.
but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am originally from Cleveland, Ohio, which now I'm living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So there's a little bit of butting heads there. Still a Cleveland fan, but I love both cities. And then for work, I am a construction manager. So I do a lot of building hospitals, airports, any kind of construction projects. I kind of just manage. I love it. As a kid, I always grew up playing with Legos and Lincoln Logs, so construction has always has been a part of my life, and I really enjoy it. I was kind of brought up, I feel like I had an all-American kind of childhood. Lots of birthday parties and played lots of sports. So introducing Cara to my family, I don't think I thought of it
You did not think.
Didn't think it through. There was this event that we were having it was kind of like, it was my family, but also a big group of extended friends. I was like, oh, they'll all be here. We were meeting by the lake, and we were doing like this soup potluck, and it was just kind of like, yeah. And I was just like, oh yeah, come along. Some of my friends and family will be there. And lo and behold, it was like everyone, and I don't think I clued Cara in quite as much as I should have. So, and it was like a weekend trip. It was pretty intense, but she did great. She's so easy to talk to anyone, so she fit right in, and God bless her, just kind of like camping, kind of meeting everyone for the first time, kind of in a unique environment, but.
I joked that it was like baptism by fire. I got in the car, we were driving up, and he basically said, he was like, oh, just a few friends. And I was like, oh, like who? What are some names so I'm familiar? And then he just kept listing people off, and I was getting more and more anxious because I was like, that is a lot of people. So it was definitely a lot, but so fun. Yeah. Everyone was so welcoming.
So something that made our relationship stronger was we decided to flip an entire house as kind of like a profit builder in order to like jumpstart our relationship and future marriage. I think you actually had the initial idea.
It was totally my idea, and it was very impulsive.
But it worked out because I have a good DIY background. You had some funds available, and also are very good with the details with house stuff. So we kind of knew it was a natural fit for us, but it is, I mean, as just dating and flipping a house, it was a little nerve-wracking. It was a lot of work. It was, 9 months of work. I mean, every day after work, we just went to that house and worked on it, and you were in grad school.
Yeah,
too.
I was in grad school and starting my internship, so I was juggling clients and graduate courses on top of flipping the house too. Yeah. So I mean, every weekend was spent there, every free moment was spent there, and there were definitely moments where the stress was strong. In particular, there was this patch where I was literally patching walls, doing plaster repair work. And it took me like 3 months to get through all of the work in the house. And every day going in, it just like grated. Grated at my patience and my stress. And so there were definitely moments in there where I think we had to work really hard to communicate through some of that stress and anxiety that we were experiencing, because it was hard. Right.
Well, and we have different levels of acceptance when it comes to certain things. So where I maybe want to cut corners, she wants to do it more at a more detailed level, and finding that compromise and being able to work together, I think really made our relationship stronger.
Totally.
And kind of clued in on some things for the future of how we work together, which ultimately, made our bond stronger. So, all in all, it was a success. I mean, it was a financial success for us, made us stronger as a couple, and it was just a great story.
It is a good story. We went into it saying, like, this is going to make or break us. So, fortunately for us, it definitely helped make us. Out. Yeah. Leading up to the wedding, we had quite a few events kind of scheduled. We had an engagement party planned, and then I had 2 bridal showers, one in Pittsburgh, one in Ohio, just to make it easier for the families. And then we each had a bachelorette party. Mm-hmm. But the engagement party, unfortunately, was canceled the morning of, because the night before, Sam had to go to the hospital. We had an evening in the hospital because he had a transient global amnesia episode, which I had never heard of before. But essentially what it means is, like, for a period of, I think it lasted for about 12 hours. Yeah. He had absolutely, like, no short-term memory ability. So he was
kind of just like stuck in a loop.
Yeah, yes. He kept asking the same questions over and over again, as if he was kind of stuck. It started actually when he was at a gig with his band.
Mm-hmm. Drumming,
Yeah, he was drumming, and all of a sudden, one of the bass guitar players came up to me and he was like, "Something going on. Like, Sam's acting a little funny." And so I was a little worried that it was maybe something more serious, like a stroke. And so I had to throw him into the car and rush to the hospital. And I had to literally stop the car because he kept trying to get out of the car, thinking that he had to get back to the gig as I was driving down the highway. So that was a little scary. But fortunately, they did a bunch of tests. The doctors were amazing that were there. Mm-hmm. And the nurses were really comforting to me because he didn't remember much.
Yeah, I still don't remember anything. I remember drumming, just starting to drum and then waking up in the hospital. And when I woke up, I thought I was like roofied or drugged or something. Mm-hmm. And come to find out that, it was just a crazy, rare one-off memory loss event. Mm-hmm. I was so lucky that she was there and she was able to help me.
Having the engagement party canceled, especially in the way that it was canceled, made really appreciating every other step towards wedding day just even more special for us. I didn't take for granted like a single second of my bridal showers or bachelorette parties, because it just is so clear, like something can happen so quickly and you just never really know. So to appreciate the moment that you're in. We got married at Sapphire Creek Winery and Gardens in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. And I think the journey trying to pick our venue was interesting because I had a very specific vision. I knew initially I was really inspired by greenhouses. Like I knew I wanted lots of windows, wanted a lot of nature to be kind of involved in the whole ceremony because I knew I wanted to get married outside. So trying to find a venue in Pittsburgh that matched the aesthetic that I was going for was a little difficult. I think Pittsburgh has a lot of beautiful country clubs and ballrooms and things like that, but just not quite this like modern winery aesthetic that I was looking for. And so I actually ended up finding a friend of mine from high school who got married there, and I was using her pictures as inspo. I was like, oh my gosh, Nicole, my wedding planner, was like, this is exactly the vibe I'm looking for. Is there anything like this? And she's like, no, girl, like we're going to have to look, we're going to have to expand our search a little bit. And so one night I was just like, you know what, where even is this place? And so I like creeped on some of her pictures and zoomed in on one of her detail cards and found the name of the venue and looked it up and realized like, oh, this is right outside of Cleveland. Like, I don't think that would be a crazy idea, especially since Sam's family's from there, to consider getting married in Cleveland. And so we scheduled a couple tours at a couple different places out there. But as soon as I walked into Sapphire Creek, I mean, I knew immediately that was the spot.
We had like one or two other places lined up to look, but we knew when we went there that it was the right fit.
It was just a gorgeous venue. I loved all the natural light that came through, and everyone we spoke to there was just so friendly and so accommodating, and so it just felt like perfect fit. I have always known I wanted to get married in the fall. That is definitely my favorite season. But I also loved like the opulence and the romantic vibes of like Bridgerton era kind of like florals and decor. And so I was trying to find a way to marry the two, because I think you often see Bridgerton style weddings in the spring or summer, like very bright, like hot pinks and blues and teals and yellows and all this stuff. So I was like, how do we do this in a more muted fall earth toned colored way? And so my wedding planner, Nicole, really helped me kind of flesh out what that was going to look like. The hardest part, I think, was trying to weave in all the different colors. So I used a lot of like mauves and pinks, and we included a lot of greens, like forest greens, olive greens, things like that, but also like mustard yellow and some other colors that you wouldn't have expected. And I think the challenge, and I know my florist definitely felt that way, was how to marry this very modern looking venue with such a vintage style decor. And honestly, I don't think I could have done it without them, because they really helped me kind of figure out exactly what that was going to look like. So when it came to incorporating our personalities into the wedding, I think there were a few things that we did. So first was Sam was adamant about including some of our initial Bumble messages somewhere in the wedding. He was like, I want this included. And initially he wanted them like blown up on a poster board, which
So it's like, people come in, they can read the conversation.
I put my foot down about that. That felt a little too offering up everything on a platter for people. So what we did instead was I created little custom cocktail napkins that just had like little blurbs. So it might have like one or two responses, and I added a little like vintage drawn bumblebee onto them, so people could kind of infer, right? And there were 6 different versions of it. So it became a kind of a fun game for guests to try and figure out, to find all the different versions and like put part of the conversation together, which was fun. Music for both of us is super important. We found lots of ways to incorporate music that we both loved into the whole ceremony and reception. So hiring a band was really important for us. And we also had a string quartet for the ceremony itself, because I knew I wanted to walk down the aisle to live music. And I offered to put in some Taylor Swift for him, because he's the Swiftie out of the two of us. What else did we have?
Yeah, I mean, I was very adamant about certain songs and when they need to be played. So, yeah, that goes with my whole planning and music background. I was very intimate with those details, but that's about it. But
another fun thing that I did for Sam and his mom was I actually choreographed their mother-son dance. They started off with like a slow dance and then busted out into like a fun dance that I helped choreograph, which was fun. I felt like I got to like put in a little bit of my dance background for you guys.
Yeah, and we were good students.
You were very good students.
But then I also incorporated, so, you know, I drum as a hobby. So since we had a live band, and it's a band that we've now become almost kind of friends with locally here. We see them often before and after the wedding. But I drummed with them for a few songs, and so that was awesome, because some of the people, I mean, most of the people at the wedding, you know, are at least on my side, are out of town, so they don't get to see me perform very often. So that was really special to just be able to perform for them. Especially like my grandma and thing, you know, harder for her to come out and to even think about seeing a show. So I know that was a lot special for me and a lot of people, for us to be able to have that connection.
My dress, I guess you'll be so surprised, I had a very specific vision. I knew exactly what I wanted for a dress. I really wanted an off-the-shoulder gown, most likely an A-line. I love like that old Hollywood kind of style and vibe to dresses, but so I wanted like a lot of structure and something that felt really romantic, but I also knew I wanted a dress that like could move, right? Could move and flow, and I could dance and have a good time in. And so when I went dress shopping, One White Lane in Pittsburgh is where I went, and the owner there was just so incredibly, she was just amazing to work with. And I told her my vision, and she was like, I know the dress. And she pulled a couple for me, but as soon as I stepped into my gown was by Stella York, I just knew immediately that was the dress. And we ended up adding like a detachable bow to the back of it that I put on, like instead of my veil for the ceremony, I added the bow for the reception, which was like just a kind of fun, like flirty little touch that I added. But I just loved my dress. I've never felt so beautiful.
The first time that we saw each other in her wedding dress was, we did do a first look before the ceremony, obviously. It was in this kind of nice secluded part of the winery, kind of like this bridge over a small brook. We were able to share a private moment, and that was really nice, just to have a few minutes just for ourselves.
It helped take like some of the nerves out of it, but I know a lot of people say like, oh, is a first look going to ruin your moment of like going down the aisle and seeing them? And I can say with certainty it absolutely did not. I still cried like a baby walking down the aisle and getting
I was still emotional too. Yeah,
getting to see him. So it was definitely worth it in terms of like getting photos done and getting to actually enjoy like our reception and get to that piece of the puzzle during the day. But it also just was nice to have a moment just for the two of us. I would say the biggest challenge about the wedding planning process was just simply trying to really hone in on the design and navigating lots of opinions. So love my mom, love my sisters, but sometimes they just had a lot of very strong opinions, and I wanted to find ways to make everyone feel comfortable and to feel like everyone was being heard. But there also are definitely moments where you just have to really trust your gut as a bride and say like, no, this is what I want, and I know with certainty that this is the best thing for the two of us, right? So I would say trying to navigate some of those conversations is probably the hardest part. But fortunately, it went really well. And I actually feel like having those hard conversations with my family in particular really helped like strengthen our relationships and helped strengthen our ability to understand one another.
Some of the traditions at this venue was you bury a bottle of bourbon. So what that looks like is about a month before your wedding day, you come to the venue and bring your own bottle of bourbon, which we did. We selected one that had our number on it, which is 14. So we saw it in the store.
It's batch 14.
So it was like perfect. Looked like a good one that we would both enjoy. And we just kind of go there and lower it down in a tube. After the ceremony, we went over with Doug, who is my stepdad, who is also our officiant. Lifted back up out of the tube, and we shared a drink together. And the bourbon was very tasty, but I think it was really nice to have a special moment with him and us, just kind of after the fact. Just kind of celebrate that we did it, and we had great weather, which was kind of the point of the Southern tradition of bury the bourbon, is to have good weather on your day.
It's supposed to ward off rain. Yeah.
So
and it worked.
It worked, and it was a really great memory. I think something of the wedding day that stands out to me, I mean, of course you have all of what Cara and I did, but just being able to share such a great day with everyone that we love and hold close to, and especially seeing my grandma. There's two moments. The one where she actually walked down the aisle, I got really choked up, equally choked up seeing her as I did Cara, just seeing her walk down the aisle. And then there's a great moment captured too of when she first saw Cara in her dress, very surprised. Those kind of stand out. My mom and I pulling off that dance that we choreographed, our first dance, was really special. So those are some of the things that kind of stand out, besides obviously the obvious good things of you and I.
There's a few moments that I think really stand out for me in terms of the day. The first really being like walking down the aisle. There was just something about it that it was one of those like movie moments, right? Where you almost feel like you're watching yourself living out something that I had dreamed about since I was a little girl, right? What that moment was going to be like. And I don't think you can actually put words to describe the joy that I felt in that moment, and like the love and excitement that I had of like getting to marry this man.
Yeah.
Right? Some other really big moments that stand out for me were I did something special, a surprise for my mom for our mother-daughter dance. I created a cover version of I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack, which is my mom's like favorite song of all time. She has dedicated it to us girls, and she danced at both of my sister's weddings with them to this song. And so I wanted to find a way to make it extra special for her, so I created this cover of myself singing it, an acoustic cover that actually Sam's stepdad Doug also helped do the guitar for. And so my mom had absolutely no idea. So when it started, I just kept waiting for the moment for her to like realize that it was me singing on the recording, because she was begging me for months to sing at the wedding. And I knew I really didn't want to have to be worried about performing on my wedding day. That was something that was really important to me. So this felt like the best of both worlds, like to be able to give her the gift of hearing my voice and me singing at the wedding day, but also taking some of the pressure off of me having to do it live. But also she has this amazing recording that she can now go back to and listen whenever she wants. And she actually texts me all the time, very randomly, like, I'm crying because I'm listening to our song. So that for sure was one of the highlights for me. But I think my favorite moment of the night was actually like leading up to the very last song with all the guests still there. It wasn't even like our final private dance. But one of Sam's friends actually grabbed my hands and she was like, this is it. Like, take this moment in. You have everyone here. Everyone was dancing. And I just had this like,
kind of like look around and like out of body experience almost.
Yeah, like, this realization of like, everything that we had worked towards, all of the planning, all of the hard work, all of like our whole journey kind of all culminated in that one moment, and it was just the coolest thing. I'm not sure how else to describe it other than like it just, there was just so much
culmination of everything.
Joy. Like, joy is probably the word I would use for the day. I just could not wipe the smile off of my face all day. And that was probably my favorite moment of the night.
It's something that at least I'm excited for.
We're both excited.
We're both excited, but I think I'm a little more excited. I think when we first started dating, we were both kind of 50-50 on having kids. But something as our relationship has grown and throughout the process of getting married, I think, has become more and more something on our minds. So it kind of started as a joke, but now it's a legitimate want of mine is to have a Sam Jr. And that could be a boy or a girl, but it's something that I'm looking forward to because I know that we'll be great parents one day. I know that pregnancy can be scary, but I'll do my best to help her. But it's something that I think is like a no-brainer for us to continue like building our family. So
I would say I'm just excited to like grow and evolve with someone. You know, I think thinking back to the person that I was like at 20 and 25, right, to even just in the 5 years that we've been together, I have changed so much as a person, and now to be able to share and grow and evolve with someone else, right, someone that I know that I love, is something that I'm excited about, just to be able to see like what life throws at us, and knowing very confidently that I think we really have the skills to tackle anything together.
Well, and some of it too is like just the mundane day-to-day kind of stuff that we've kind of fallen into, and I think it's good, like every once in a while we'll check in and be like, is this, are we still on the right path, or like, is this still good? And even though we might be getting more boring as we get older, it's good to stay. No, we're not boring, but it's good to stay. I think we have some good communication on our growing, moving forward. So I think that's an important key for any relationship, is to keep in communication even after the wedding. Yeah. What I love most about Cara is just her spirit, her just never-ending joy and enthusiasm about life. I mean, it makes anyone that she touches, with her life, inspired to do their best. And I love providing for her to hopefully to nurture her even more and more. But she's just such a joy, and I never get tired of her laugh, even though it's
good.
Yeah, it's a lot in this household. Luckily, I think I'm a little funny, so I think we work good in that sense. But even when she's down, sometimes picking her back up and working through things is just something that I know will always be a consistent force in my life and in yours.
The thing I love most about Sam is his drive and his passion for things. Like, he is so unapologetically himself, and when he commits to something, it is like 150% dedicated to it, right? And so I find that to be really inspiring, because I don't know that very many people are that way. And you do it with everything, not just like interests and hobbies, and even training for the marathon like he's doing right now, but even just in your relationships. Like, when you really choose someone, you choose them, and you choose them hard, and it feels really special. And the other thing is, you are really sneaky funny. Oh, yeah. He has a very specific sense of humor that I feel like I get special access to.
Unfiltered.
You're watching Wedding Worthy, where we believe every couple has a story.